All right, welcome to another episode of Inside IALR. Thanks for joining us today. We've talked a lot about the Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing Program. We talk about it a lot because it's our biggest program here at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research. But here, kind of to take a different look at it. So this program is basically it's providing a 4-month accelerated training experience, scholarships provided for students who are coming in for those 4 months, and then we're working with them to place them in jobs they're coming from around the country, and then we're placing them around the country. And I'm here today we're really here to talk about the services that are provided to the students while they're here. So we have 3 guests today. Always fun when we have lots of guests. Kevin Gatewood, who's the Assistant Director for ATDM Student Services. We have Karen Hardy, who's the ATDM Assistant Director for Career Services. We have Dr. Debra Holley, who's the Director for Project Development for ATDM. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
So to start, I know, like I said, we've talked about ATDM a lot, but Dr. Holley, if you want to kick us off, give us like a 1-minute overview. What exactly is ATDM and how does it work?
So ATDM is the Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing Program. It is a Department of Defense IBAS program that is trying to fill the skills gaps for the submarine and maritime industrial base. As you know and have read, if you've read anything, then you know that right now there's a labor shortage in manufacturing, and that's definitely hurting our ability in national defense. And so the program is a 16-week, 600-hour program in welding, non-destructive testing, metrology, CNC machining, and additive manufacturing. And so the students will choose one track, and then they will continue on that track. And we also have job placement services to place them in jobs within the maritime industrial base.
What's really cool about this program, the accelerated part of it is cool, but I think the level of support that is provided to students from start to finish, I think is really, in my mind, what sets this program apart. It's very, very cool. So tell me a little bit about some of those support and wraparound services that are provided to students, basically even from before they get here, but from before they get here through their time here.
Sure. So student support services really takes over once the student arrives for check-in. So typically check-in is held on a Monday. We hold check-in the week before on that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so really once they get here, we check them in, we meet with them one-on-one to kind of identify the needs, their goals, and kind of set forth with our student support specialists. So 2 of our big areas for support is housing and transportation. So housing, we have a scholarship for all of our students to provide housing. It's located about 5 to 7 minute drive from the IALR campus in downtown Danville. The apartments are one bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom apartments. They come fully furnished with basic furniture. Appliances are also included. So really, the goal was to eliminate any barriers from the student succeeding and successfully completing the program. The second was transportation. So we have partnered with Danville Transit to offer a fixed route for our students to provide transportation from the downtown area to IALR's campus for all 3 shifts. So first, second, and third shift, if a student drives and they want to park their car and save that gas money, or students who do not have a vehicle, we offer that transportation service to and from the apartments to campus. Some of the other support services that we offer is we are building continuous partnerships with organizations and businesses throughout the community, whether it's medical, dental, mental health, food insecurity, childcare, just an array of different services that the students may need once they get here in Danville. We can direct them, identify those needs, and help them get the services that they need.
What you said at the beginning, that the whole idea is to reduce any barriers preventing someone from coming to this program. Obviously, you guys are taking a very holistic view of that. Of if someone doesn't have a car, they can still get to and from school. Obviously, the housing part of it is huge, all those other things you're talking about. I'm sure you're working with students who, if they're taking 4 months off of their job, which is in most cases what's happening, there are going to be situations where food insecurity and all of those sorts of things. So that's really cool, that the holistic view you all are taking with that.
I was going to just say that we also provide support before and after. So before they get here, we realize a lot of people haven't seen math in a long time, and so they have a course that we give them several weeks before they get here for them to brush up on their math skills, and direct them towards resources to help them improve on areas that they may have forgotten or are weak in. And then we also have transition services for students who are not able to, let's say, maybe pay for their first month rent because they have been here for 4 months not earning money. So we help those with the need. It's not for everybody. Sometimes companies will provide that transition support as well, but we do provide the transition support for those in need.
And to add on to what Deborah is saying, as far as helping them seek a job, we also provide assistance if they need to be able to get to an interview or a physical or a weld test as well, if they do not have transportation or the means to stay overnight.
Dr. Holley, you mentioned in the beginning, the whole point of this program is that there's not enough people in these positions. There's not enough people with these skills. So the more that you can open it up in all of these different ways you guys are talking about, the more people you can bring in, the more you can grow that workforce. That's the whole idea of why the Navy and Department of Defense are investing in all of these services, because that's what this is. So Karen, on your side, I know you're more in the career services. You're working with students, with businesses. Tell us a little bit about sort of how do you help students prepare for these jobs and get these jobs?
We have developed an industry connections course, and it's a structured 16-week course. Each week they have different assignments that they have to do, starting with the creation of a resume, mock interviews, and then by the midway point they're applying to jobs. And then once they apply to jobs, we try to help reinforce that by reaching out to those companies that they've applied to. From day one, we encourage them to build a profile with buildsubmarines.com, which is a really good resource to help find jobs as well. And we encourage them to look weekly on that website for jobs. But we also have career fairs, at least 5 career fairs a year with up to 35 companies that come nationwide to see these students. So there's a lot of support that we provide them, and a lot of opportunities for them to get in front of these employers as well. We also have employers that will actually fly in specifically to do interviews with our students. And so we just try to, keep our doors open, keep an open mind on how we can support these students. An example of that is working with companies to do weld tests here instead of them having to go to that company to do a weld test. It just makes it a lot more, convenient, and makes the process getting a job a lot easier.
Right. No, that makes sense. And that's really cool. Again, the holistic view y'all are taking on that, helping with something as simple as resumes and interview skills and things like that. Obviously in the classroom, they're learning the technical skills they would need. But yeah, that's really cool. Again, that holistic view we're taking on this.
And just to touch on that, Karen touched on the career fairs. If students, don't have the clothing, the business professional clothing that they need, we have partnerships with different organizations in the community that we can, go out and find some of the clothing that students may need to come to the career fair to look presentable. So kind of just want to make sure they're successful all the way around for all of these events.
Yeah, and we also provide one-on-one support for these students too. So if they're having any kind of issues with the job search, we're there to help them and guide them through it.
And because at any given time, I know the program's still growing, but I mean, right now we have like 100 plus students at any given time, right?
Oh, yes.
Closer to 200.
Yeah.
Closer to 200 right now. Okay. So yeah, that's just for the audience listening, we're working with that many students at one time. But how do you all balance every student is different. Every student is coming from a different state. I know students are 40-ish states.
46.
46 states that students have come from at this point, various career backgrounds, some fresh out of college, some haven't, no career experience, to people who have, been in the other career fields for decades. So how do you balance all of that and trying to figuring out what services to provide and how you provide them?
Well, I'm going to start with an informal and then I'm going to let them talk about the formal services, because one of the things that I've seen and I've heard students talk about is how they bond while they're here, and they support each other. There was a lady in one of the CNC machining classes now that she's the only female. She's in her 40s, and she says, everybody calls me mom. She says, we get together, we study together, we go out to eat together. She said, we just enjoy spending time together and supporting each other. So it happens informally as well as formally.
And the energy shows during the completion ceremonies. You can tell that they have created such a bond, and they're so excited to be with each other.
I think to touch on the formal side, so as far as student, support is, we like to sit down and meet with all the students initially one-on-one and just kind of, again, figure out what needs there are, what their goals are. And you may not meet with that student again for 4 to 5 weeks versus some students may need a weekly meeting, daily meeting, whatever that case is. So just initial intake of meeting with all the students, figuring out, what their needs are, and then services that they may need, and then going from there. But definitely initial check-in and then a halfway point check-in as well to see where they're at week 8. And then about week 12, just check in, send an email. If there's anything we can help with or assist with, reach out to us. We're here for you. So,
yeah, and it's the same on the job placement side as well. And we try to have, at least weekly touch points of some sort with the students on multiple shifts.
How have, I guess, the services that we've offered changed? Because, obviously this program started small as a prototype program with, what was in the first cohort, like 36 students in the first cohort.
And Karen did it all.
Yes.
So how have, and I know that was several years ago at this point. So how have the services we provide for these students changed, and how, I guess, is that continuing to grow? What other wraparound support services are we seeing that need to be provided?
Yeah, it has definitely changed as we grow, because we started out with, one staff member pretty much to do everything, and as we've grown the staff, pretty much we had to delegate, what staff was going to do what, and create policies and procedures in order to effectively administrate these wraparound services, and making sure that there is a need and that we are being responsible with the money we have and actually doing a service for the students. But it has definitely grown, because, like I said, it was 36 folks when we started out, and now we're almost 200. So it definitely takes a lot more planning and organization to accomplish that.
And one example of how we've grown is, and Karen was here in the beginning, so it was either the first or the second cohort. We had someone who could not get to their job, and that's when we started providing the transition support, was because we realized, wait a minute, we're training them, but they need support afterwards as well to be able to get there. So that's an example of one of the ways we've changed. I think that the wraparound services, we've increased those. Initially, they came, and if they had a need, we supported them. Now we're more proactive. We stand up in orientation and let them know if these are where medical services are. If you don't have insurance, this is who can help you. This is where you can have recreational activities, and I think we're more proactive.
And I think, too, when you add, just to scale up the number of students coming in, you don't ever want to send 100-plus students to one organization for services. So you really want to build out that directory list, if you say, and so students have options of where to go when they need a service.
Yeah, and with so many students coming from all over the country, we definitely have to make sure that we can support them so we can have a program, because if we're not able to support these students, then, we won't have a training program.
So the community, anybody who's spent any time in Danville knows that it's a very community-focused area. Just the region is very supportive of anybody, whether they're visitors or whether they live here or whatever. And so one of the things that we're doing is giving the students an opportunity to give back to the community. So they're volunteering. I think this past weekend we had 40 some students picking up trash on the Riverwalk, and there's been several. I think this cohort's had 3 or 4 opportunities.
Yeah.
Habitat for Humanity. Mm-hmm. And so they're enjoying being able to do that on the weekends and to give it back.
That makes sense, because they're here for 4 months, so the more, you would hope some of them would want to come back someday. So that idea of being able to get them out in the community more, give them those opportunities. Obviously informally they're doing that, but even those formal things to invest in the community as well definitely makes sense. So can y'all tell me a little bit about when we're talking about expanding the services we offer to students? I know we recently launched basically a work-study program for students here. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of where that came from.
The work-study program, students are able to apply for a position that if a job is posted internally, whether it's a job in the welding shop or the CNC shop or an administrative task, students can apply for a job. They can work up to 20 hours per week. It does pay $15 per hour for those students who are hired. And some of the jobs may be cutting metal in the welding shop. It may be making cold calls for inquiries that we receive to future students. It may be helping out cleaning the shop in the CNC lab. So different jobs may be posted. Students are able to apply, and then they'll work 3 hours a day or whatever. They'll set their schedule, and they can work up to 20 hours a week.
Yeah, no, and that's really cool. And that this launched recently, right?
It did.
I guess going back to the whole idea of this being accessible, that makes sense that people are coming here for 4 months. You can't have your other job while you're coming here, so that makes sense that you would want to provide some way for them to earn some money, even for for food and those ongoing expenses that they would still have.
Right, and some of the students who have already started the work study program, they may be training on third shift, so they'll stay after that third shift into first shift. So that while they're already on campus, they'll work 3 to 4 hours and then go home. Or some may come in on first shift before they train on second. So we give them that option where they can stay late, come in early to make some extra money while they're here.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Student support services that we provide. I know another part of that is tutoring and students being able to come. Obviously, they're in class basically 8 hours a day, whatever shift they're on. But then there's additional, tutoring and support provided beyond that. Talk about that and kind of the impact, what we provide and what impact that makes on students.
Right now, the policy states that students must have 70% or better in all their classes to continue the program. So if they fall below the 70, they're required to attend tutoring services. However, there's occasions where some students who may already have above a 70 percentage still come to tutoring because they want to learn more. They want to, just be more proficient in that process or wherever they're learning. So tutoring services are offered. Our technicians in the different 5 program areas will assist with that. So students may again, come in earlier, stay late after class for tutoring services. We currently are starting tutoring services on Saturday, so students can come in on Saturday to get extra help in class or extra help in the lab on whether it's welding, CNC, metrology, NDT, or additive. They can come in and get those tutoring services.
And that makes sense. You think about college. Any college would provide tutoring, and that's a lot slower. Usually that's a lot slower pace than what we're talking about here, so that makes sense. There are going to be times where you need that extra, students would need that extra support and extra whether it be you're talking about all the math concepts or something practical with the machines. That makes sense that would be something that would benefit students.
And for example, I was talking to one of the welding instructors yesterday, and they were talking about one of the processes. You learn that maybe in the first 2 weeks and then you move on. And you don't have a chance to go back to that process maybe until week 15 if you have some extra time then. So, if you're able to, start in tutoring the first 2 weeks, and if you feel like you're falling behind, you can, go to tutoring and make sure you learn that, procedure or that process, so you're not falling behind.
Tell me a little bit about some of the successes we've seen that you all have seen providing these wraparound support career services to students. How have these I guess, how do these services that we provide contribute to these students' successes, allow these students to be successful?
By being able to provide the relocation assistance, we've been able to help students move basically across country to a brand new life. I mean, I can think of one company in particular that has quite a few of our students, and that was possible because we were able to help them get there.
That relocation service or that transition service, or whatever you guys call that, makes a lot of sense. And that makes sense that you might not have thought of that up front, but quickly realized that, oh, that's a prohibitive expense. Yeah, that's a really cool service to be able to provide. Karen, you just mentioned that that there are companies who have hired lots of our students. On that side, talk about the success we've seen of the program, of how this program is not only benefiting the students, to how is this also benefiting the companies that we work with?
Well, it's providing a workforce that has foundational skills that are ready to start working from day one. And we have gotten, quite a bit of feedback over the last 3 years, and it's pretty favorable. The companies are very happy with the students that they have, whether they have sent them for upskilling or if they've actually recruited out of our program. We're looking at maybe an average of reduction of time to talent around 5 to 6 months is what we're seeing. And so they're really excited that because not only are they learning foundational skills, but we're also teaching them soft skills. And something that we have implemented in the last year is the attendance policy. They punch in and out on a time clock. And when we tell companies that that's what we're doing, they get really excited because that's the number one attrition in companies is people not showing up. And the students, that come through our program, that is instilled, the importance of that is instilled in them.
I guess for future looking, I know the program's still growing. We're hoping to have 800 to 1,000 students graduating by next year with our new building opening up early in 2025. I guess what are some of the traits that we are looking for those ideal students? Who are the candidates that are likely to be successful? Obviously, we're doing everything we can to reduce any financial barriers, any reason that someone who could be successful might not be. But what are some of those traits that we're looking for those students?
I would say motivation, commitment, the willingness to ask for help if they need it, and the dedication to actually find a job as well.
Yeah, I agree. With Karen, motivation is my number one, to be able to get through. Because even if you haven't seen math in a long time, or you've never held a screwdriver or whatever, if you're motivated to learn, then that takes you a long way. I also like to see a desire to serve the country that goes along with the willingness to go to work. Because if somebody says, well, I want to be a welder so that I can open up a shop in my backyard, that's a lot different than someone who says, I want to be a welder because I want to help national defense, because that's what our purpose is for the national defense. Just piggyback on some of the things that Karen has said, they have to be able to show up on time, and be able to be here every day, to meet the attendance policy. And so secondary to that would be, mechanical skills. We aren't measuring eye-hand coordination yet, but, just kind of trusting that somebody knows what a welder or a machinist does, and they find that interesting and something that they may want to do. The ability to learn math. We teach them all the math they need to know, but they have to have that ability to be able to learn it, and a desire to move to where the jobs are. So if we try to keep people when they want to stay and where their home is, a lot of times people want to stay where mom and pop live or where they grew up. And if we have companies in that area, that's an ideal situation. But for some of the people who are in areas that don't have a company that has contract with a defense industrial base, then we, have to say, are you willing to move? These are where the welding jobs are. These are where the machining jobs are. And if they're not willing to move, then they're probably not going to be job placeable. And that's our ultimate goal, is to place students in jobs.
As far as who the students are, I mean, I know we're talking about students who are 18 years old to students who are in their 50s. And like we said, students who have multiple different career experiences and those who have basically none. And I think that's what you're saying is that it's the motivation. It doesn't really matter what the previous experience is. It's that motivation and willingness to do the work and go where the work is. Thank you all for taking the time for this today. I think it's, like I said, I think this program is really cool. And I think I didn't know a lot of the support services that you all provide, so I was excited for this conversation to kind of learn more about how we support those students while they're here, and then even, as you guys have been explaining, even as they're leaving, how we continue to support them. But is there anything else that you would want to add, or anything else that you think it's important that people know?
Just looking at, the volume of students that have come through and graduated, completed, and have actually been placed in jobs, I think has been pretty phenomenal. And we are on a upwards trend with all of that, and I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm excited to be a part and see everything that's going on with the program.
And Dr. Holley, you mentioned we have students from 46 states, so now we just need to get those 4 others, and then we can say we've got them all. So what 4 are we waiting on?
Oh, let's see.
They're up towards the north Montana.
It's probably like Idaho, Wyoming. And Wyoming, and
it's Wyoming and up there, maybe
the
South
large
Dakota.
States with the less population.
So we gotta get some very targeted ads there, so then we can say we have students from all 50 states. That's what we need. So
that is correct.
But yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for the work that you do to support the students that are here. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Megabytes IALR's on-site cafe features everyday favorites, convenient ordering options, and an eager staff ready to welcome and serve you. Our enticing menus offer something for everyone, from a fresh, well-stocked salad bar, wraps, sandwiches, and our rotating hot buffet offered on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Megabytes is open Monday through Friday from 9:15 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. To view menus and for more information, visit IALR.org/megabytes.